and it helps me understand the company's direction and all that kind of good shit. Like I get a better idea of how they operate. And all right, set of articles. Holy fuck, this is a lot of writing. All right, we'll just click this. Some of this stuff I'm going to skim through. Yeah, communication, emails, topic specific. Okay, I guess I'll just read this out loud. The development manifesto. The purpose of this development manifesto forum is for us to open topics on specific issues that we're working on, so that we can explain how they're going to work. It's also a great place to discuss and design philosophies that we base many of our decisions around. This is what I'm trying to constantly be in tune with. Please note that there are still plenty of topics that will be posted. This initial set are just the ones that we have ready in the first pass. Many more will be added in the coming days and weeks. Cool. How this manifesto updates work. Initially, the manifesto will be updated by adding more topics. As they become out of date, something timeline, blah, 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 blah. Explanation of the patch notes. Starting with update 1.1b, our patch notes have included much more detailed explanations of the changes before. A lot of the thinking into rebalancing that we do, so we're going to be as detailed about this process as possible, which is nice. Helps you guys understand instead of just crying about it with no reason. This has been an outcry on the forums for a long time. Can you guys explain why you guys made these decisions or whatever? In some cases, a rebalance may be foreshadowed by a post in this development manifesto forum so that people are aware of it in advance. Daily news. That's nothing. Build of the week. This has to return and soon. We love reading your thoughts, proposed changes, and design philosophies. Replies are enabled in the development manifesto, but please only constructive criticism. Yeah, because they only have limited amount of time, and please don't waste their time with useless trash. All right. We read that first. Now let's move on. Content 1.13 includes the rebalancing of the corrupted areas and Invasion League. Overwhelmingly, feedback on Invasion and corrupted areas is that they're unfairly hard. While we previously toned them down several times, it became clear that a larger scale rebalance was required. We wanted to retain the feeling of danger, A+, while making sure that the players had the time to react and choose whether to engage the bosses. This is by changing the way they look aesthetically is a drastic improvement of what this concept is trying to convey. Having a more identifiable threat is going to allow you to make that decision. Hey, do we want to engage or do we want to fucking bounce? You know, or like, hey, my build sucks, or it's not equipped to handle this particular boss. Let's clear the rest of the map. You know, making that decision is good gameplay too. There shouldn't be always like a just takedown like with ease and stuff, because that just makes it boring. Having to make these kinds of decisions in game, very, very good. This balance is going to be ongoing and being tested internally, but our current work has involved. Item rewards from these bosses have been rebalanced to be more consistent and fair. None were decreased. Decrease, okay, yeah. Good jokes. I haven't seen, like, even if they decrease, it's like, you know, I still wouldn't have noticed a difference. Like this, the rewards is just so small. Defensive values of these bosses have been reduced substantially. I worry about this. They're not all super tanky anymore. I think it's good to have the HP high, personally, because it kind of makes it feel like a raid boss. I mean, could they tone down the mechanics, make you fight for longer for more reward? As long as they made it worth your time, I don't mind the high HP or high defense, provided that the reward is substantial. Let me pull up the chat so I can see what you guys are saying too. Their resistances have been reduced and made more consistent, not heavily resistant to a single element now. This is good. This is good. While I feel like their HP still should remain the same, This allows you, you know, to not be like, oh, this boss is going to take me 10 seconds. And then, oh, this one is going to take me 5 minutes because I'm going to have to kite him and he's resistant to my main source of damage. This is, I feel like it's a very good balance change. The damage is more dangerous. The damage of the more dangerous ones have been decreased. Metalsmith. Metalsmith is one of those ones that just throws, you know, every how to the bag. You know, fucking all different kinds of totems with different links. That's very, very, you know, can catch you off guard. And he drops them very, very fast. That's why he's such a huge threat. Is like, you can't carry every fucking element, every flask, and be able to react. You know, you just need to be built in a certain way so that you can address him from ranged. Very, very tough. The bosses that summon additional monsters have been changed to summon fewer monsters. I'm guessing this may or may not include the Exile who does arc and summons zombies. That she fucking hurts like a lot. Those zombies that detonate and explode, that's no joke. This should help with graphical performance. Obvious reasons. Less 3D models in game. Better performance. Bosses that use Stormcall will now have an effect that accurately indicates the area of effect. Okay. Flame Blast used by these bosses now looks different than the. That's one of my biggest complaints about that that Searing Bond Exile and the totem is that when you are playing with the Flame Blast guy, it's so fucking hard to know whose is who, and you're just constantly leaping around thinking it's fucking hot potato. That I don't feel like is necessary. I think distinguishing hostile between friendly targets, I think is very, very good. Corrupted areas receive a map mod balance as opposed to using the same ones that our endgame map system uses. They generally have the same mods that decrease with decreased values. Some of the heavily build restricted ones like blood magic are gone. Okay, so the minus 25 max, that's probably getting reduced to something more reasonable. Also, fracture is probably one we'll not see because just there's no. I mean, I doubt people would want to do it. I mean, when you're speed running, either to farm fragments or you're in invasion, where those bosses are still threats, which will be nerfed. So I'm not so sure like this was necessary if everything's going to be nerfed. We're expecting to deploy this update late this week. Sounds pretty cool. Next thing, content update 1.13. 1.13 is due to deployment for the end of April. As more information is revealed about the news, I'll update this thread, not the patch notes. Convocation. This is the new summoner skill. Teleports your minion and applies a heal over time buff to them. So this means you won't be so strapped on using what's it called? The summoner healing flask, animation flask. It's a possibility that you could just get rid of them altogether with just this convocation gem. And I would think something like, well, let's read the rest of it first. When designing this skill, we had the following goals: to provide another way to heal minions in addition to the current flask mod and totems that people use, to allow situational recall of minions, which is strategically useful. For example, a meat shield, or when you need to benefit from something nearby. Hello, Evangelist. As a solution for people to recover minions that are stuck behind terrain. Yes, minions are slow. Minions need to keep up. Not all of it's like nice. It's useful to have an on-demand way to do this. We all agree. To limit the cases of putting the skill on an 8-second cooldown, it's useful for above reasons, but doesn't allow you to teleport your minions to you every second. That's to prevent the Evangelist bubble spamming, to where you're pretty much like a paladin in Divine Shield. You might as well fucking bubble hearth. To introduce this skill as we could to recent functional changes, such change to Smoke Mine. Okay, to introduce this as soon as we could after a recent functional change to Smoke Mine. Okay, so I was confused on if they were planning on changing Smoke Mine again into something even stronger, but I don't think Smoke Mine needs to change. I think it's good. It's working as intended, and it does great if you know how to use it correctly. 1.13 will be ready for deployment in a couple of weeks. We'll post a more accurate time frame and information about its contents in the news between now and then. Awesome. I really like that. And so I was talking about convocation. It is affected by duration. However, duration is notorious for never reducing the cooldown of your gem. So maybe it's possible that they may add some kind of reduced duration or reduced cooldown keystone. I think that would be really cool between Witch and Templar. Having a reduced cooldown keystone that has some kind of drawback. Maybe reduced cooldown instant but half the duration or something like that. Or maybe not, it can be that strong because then they would just spam the convocation. But I was thinking with convocation you could use it with reduced duration, and then that heal over time buff should be, since it's a heal over time, it should be condensed into a shorter amount of time, netting you higher HPS for your minions, more reactive type healing. So I think that's probably a gem we'll see with reduced duration. And reduced duration needs a different, it needs more flavor than just you know, lightning warp. I mean, that's the main reason why people use that, is lightning warp, and giving more options for, you know, the support gem to be used in other links, I think is very cool. Molten Strike. One of these new skills in the content is called Molten Strike. As your character swings with its weapon, balls of molten magma hit the ground, causing a splash of fire damage. We made a short video demonstrating how its current form. I've updated the development manifesto entry on 1.13 to include a link to this information. As we get closer to deployment date, we'll discuss the content, discuss its content in the news. That article will be kept up to date. Also, this is the best thread ever. It's going on as we speak. Oh yeah. This is the Devourers. Okay. Fucking Chris is loving this. She's probably laughing his ass off. All right, this is the new molten fire thing, which makes me inclined to believe that anything within melee range is going to take a physical amount, and it will probably convert. I feel like it may be like lightning strike, where it has a front load of physical damage, and then it disperses into multiple balls. As you can see, it's pretty RNG of where these balls go. You know, it's pretty random. So just when I think it's random, how do you make this ability effective? I think it's gonna do substantial fire damage because of its randomness. That's the trade-off. You're not gonna get to hit in the area or the cone that you want to every time. So it's gonna be a little bit random, but more rewarding when it does hit. That's how I feel like it's going to be. Yeah, and multi-strike with this is going to be insane, I think. Just to get more, you know, continuous splash area and actually hit the targets that you're trying to hit. So that's just my prediction. I don't know. I don't have alpha access, and I'm not. If I did, I wouldn't be able to leak it. But that's kind of how I feel about this ability. Like it's just really kind of random. So the reward needs to be that it does substantial damage when it does hit. Let's go. That was Molten. Sure. What's being kept from ambush and invasion? 4 monthly challenges like ambush and invasion are a great place to test the new game mechanics while receiving plenty of feedback and data of how players interact with them. When 4-month leaks end, we have to choose what parts of these new features to roll into the core game. Some systems like Rogue Exiles and Shrines came along from the challenge leaks in this way. This article has our current feelings about what parts of the leaks are likely to be retained. It's going to be updated over time, especially with regards to aspects that haven't been decided. The ambush leaks. The ambush chests are fun and integrated into the core game. Their spawn rate will be reduced slightly. We'll have to rebalance how cartographers, oh my god, cartographers ones work in in-game maps. Currently, they're incredibly effective at dropping higher maps. This is an experiment we're willing to let run its course. I think cartographers remove it from the game completely, or make it to where that box cannot roll +5 to max. That's the biggest problem with cartographers is getting the +5. Well, it might be okay of an idea to let it replenish your current map pool, your existing map pool. So while you're working hard building up on your 72s and you're starting to run out, I think, you know, the transmute augment route, you know, is what, you know, very popular around that level range. I think it's a good idea because you're, you know, when you're running less quantity, you're getting less maps, and running it at that difficulty, I think is a great suggestion for that particular tier of the end game. So cartographers banning the +5 on their particular box, but you can still get quantity, rarity. I think that'd be okay. Let's go to Invasion League. All right, let's see what they have to say. Granted, I have not read any of this. This is all brand new to me. Note that the following is our current thinking, assuming the changes we're making soon have the results we want. The concept of invading unique monsters will not be integrated in the core game for now. The invasion bosses that have the most fun will be kept to help bolster the set of unique monsters that have been strategically allocated to each world area. Some world areas will be missing unique monsters, will not get them. The system of guest-based type monsters was successful and will be integrated in the core game. It will be toned down substantially so that the guest monsters are mostly noticeable in higher difficulties. We ramped it very high for invasion. Yeah, 1 per zone. The new progression of quivers have been successful. Yeah, the good quivers. I like that change. Our current plan is to introduce them to the core game when these leagues end and stop the old quivers from dropping at that point. Unique items. We generally do not add unique items from challenges to the full pool of the league ends. With ambush and invasion, we are examining our roster of unique quivers. It may allow these to spawn after the league's end. I think that's necessary. Archers, rangers, I'm rooting for you. You guys need some love. You guys need some more interesting mechanics. You guys are getting overshadowed so many times. You guys are still threats in PvP scene. Let's be real. Like, you guys are very good contenders in the PvP scene, but PvE in a hardcore setting, you know, it's rough, and I feel for you guys. So, you know, having an arsenal of quivers and flexible options, I think is a very good change. If this is going to happen, we will let the community know well in advance. So he wants you to not fucking panic mode and just spend all your currency getting these quivers, expecting them to be legacy. He'll give you ample notice, and I would think ample notice is at least 1 month before the league ends, giving you enough time to either chance them, find them, farm them, and whatever. But you'll make a decision. I don't know. I would think within one month, I would think is good. All the content and the features that make their way from the challenge leagues to the core game add up over time to contribute Path of Exile as ongoing evolution, aka meta. We have awesome plans for the next challenge leagues. Cool. Client performance. Graphical performance of the game client is an ongoing and improvement that is being tackled from many different directions. In the article, I'd like to briefly detail a few things we're currently actively working on that will affect client performance. Trails. Our engine doesn't currently support trails, sometimes called ribbons in the other games. Jonathan is working on experimental support for this technology, which will both allow us to create many new visual effects and allow us to replace old slow effects to much more efficient ones that use trails rather than particles. Huh. So this seems more like a money making thing versus a mechanical thing. Like as a how it's like gonna allow them to use different kinds of skill gems that would follow you. Kind of like what first thing that comes to mind is Arctic armor. That I would consider to be a trail, so that's kind of confusing for me to understand what, you know, this fully means. But definitely seeing something to do with microtransactions, having something like flaming cinders follow your character as you're walking, and you know, when you're running with something with like my eternal supporter or exalted supporter stat microtransaction, like feathers come off of it and it's like a trail of feathers in the background. That's what my guess would be. I don't think this has anything to do with skill gems. It may open up an interesting arsenal so that they can make if you guys ever remember Run Like the Wind from a Whirlwind Barb in Diablo 3, that had like a trail effect, like a blur effect when you sprint and then you drop tornadoes behind you in your wake. I don't know if that's what that means. We'll see. I'm curious to know, but the game is going to be more aesthetically pleasing. We can automatically assume that. Text rendering. The way we currently render text is slow and has some issues with foreign languages. This slowdown can sometimes be felt when you open chat while playing. Harry is rewriting the system in a way that fully caters to foreign text requirements, while also getting every bit of speed we can get out of text rendering. I wonder if this is going to affect the Twitch chat, in-game chat feature, because I know when you log into this and the client is showing the Twitch chat, over time my gameplay or my frames and performance takes a shitter and I have to restart. It's like a memory dump problem, but I'm hoping that this will inadvertently, you know, it's working for foreign languages. I hope this inadvertently helps with the Twitch in-game chat feature. Because I know, like, my computer is really good now, but I was really struggling with my old setup with the 8320 and a 560 Ti or something like that. I was definitely having many performance issues just from chat. So hopefully that's going to resolve among other issues. Please note that much larger improvements are underway, but are not listed here because they don't actively have a developer on them this week. I'll keep the document up to date and as we progress with the other optimization tasks. Awesome. What I would like to see from optimization, gameplay performance, is lightning. I feel like that needs to be reprogrammed. Lightning and fire. Let's be real. Those things are the most... Fire is probably the worst. And after fire, it's going to be chilled ground. Anything with a chilled ground, it's always been something that's been detrimental to the performance of your computer. And lightning auto degrades itself over time to where it starts to show boxes and choppiness. Let's see. Okay, so that's client performance. Improvements for the new user experience. This is so important. I think I would tackle this from a business perspective. I would like to see an easier transition. Before I even read that, this is like what I would like to suggest. I would like to say, like, when someone plays this game and he's starting in the coast and he's picking up this game and he's like, well, I've been enjoying playing an archer type class, like from the character selection screen. Let's just go to the character selection screen. Fuck it. When he goes to create a character, I would like say, you know, Ranger specializes in the archery, and then have like 3 or 4 buttons with suggested skill tree charts. So you can decide, I want to go fast attacking, elemental, or fast attacking, and it just gives you the first 20 points, like efficient 20 points layout. And if you're going to play on hardcore, it'll have the hardcore or softcore variation. I think that would do wonders to the new user picking up this game. So once I were to log in, what I would like to see on the skill tree is like something like this. You know, if you're going to be playing an invasion, this is the suggested route, and then it can give you like, this can be outlined in green. It doesn't have to be the way you do go, but it could have a suggested thing, or maybe like a question, like when you level every 10 levels, how is your character feeling? Are you needing more defenses? Here are some optional defensive nodes that you should strive to get to. You know, just minimal type things like, I'm feeling quite squishy, Chris Wilson. Can you give me some more suggestions? Like, all right, well, you are you know, somewhat next to like what do you call it? Mind over matter, or iron reflexes, or something like that. And then like lead you into, are you having mana problems? Consider using this blood magic keystone over here, you know. Work your, I'd not give you the exact path, but give you ideas of directions that would go and help your character evolve at the early game. And then it would cut off like around 50, level 50 ish. When you finish Cruel, I think, you know, maybe not even up to Cruel, maybe just finish Act 1. That should be what they strive. After Act 1, you're on your own. So Act 1, we'll just say it's like public school. You know, the government's going to help you, carry you, give it to you for free. After that, you need to go out there and do it on your own. You know, you need to go do your homework, go tap into some resources, whether it's, you know, Twitch TV, whether it's, you know, awesome build guides on the forum. But, yeah, some kind of guideline. I think that would go really well. I would say the Marauder would specialize into two-hand. They're notorious for, you know, being the two-handed guy, the warrior, you know, the tankiness, you know. I can, you know, the duelist is like the fast attacker. He can also, you know, do some quite a bit of archery or stuff like that. But you don't want a spellcaster duelist, like, you know, stuff like that. Just that overwhelming factor. I know for the people that have been playing this game for so long, they're getting to the point where, you know, all this is just second nature. You know, they pretty much have this shit. They fucking dream about the skill tree, and this is just like their home. And you know, from what I'm probably saying right now is probably like, oh, Hedgie, that's just noob shit. But to be fair, the game has been out, and I've been playing this game for, you know, like over a year now, and I can definitely see how it can be so overwhelming and deter a player from even trying, just because there's like, holy fuck, this thing is so intimidating. Just a few minor tweaks that GG could do to help the early on. So let's just see what they have to say. That's just my rant. Let's see what the devs have to say. Path of Exile can be tough learning curve for new users, especially those who haven't played action RPGs before. Half of our new users aren't very experienced with this type of game, but may potentially really enjoy it. I agree, if they play it to the point where they discover the depth of the character builds possible. This is what I was saying like a couple hours ago. I was ranting that you just need to get people through the door, get their feet wet, and then they'll have this awe, you know, this fascination for the, oh my god, there's so many possibilities. That's where the love of this game comes. But how do you get that, you know, get that person to that point? When players feel really powerful, they enjoy themselves. I sure do, Chris. That's for sure. If they don't feel that they're gaining any more power from their incremental play, then they're unlikely to keep playing for a long period of time. This results in a really tough design decision between balancing the game so that players start out feeling very powerful. This is great for making a first few minutes run, but as a long-term enjoyment, this is awesome because there's less awesomeness for players to gain as they keep playing. Yeah, it gets exponentially hard at level 90 plus to start really feeling that, what, you know, massive time investment versus how much your character is actually gaining. Balancing the game so that players start out feeling weak, which I think is okay as long as they have direction. This makes the game much easier to create because of strong sense of progression as they gradually power up, completing their build. And this feeling of completing your build is exactly why I still trade on leagues that I do not play in. Accumulate wealth, help people finish their builds, being available to trade so that they can get these items to make their, you know, characters feel nice, and the gameplay gameplay experience is better for them. Also, you know, my prices are at a, you know, somewhat of a premium rate, so it gives them goals. They're like, oh, if I want to get this thing that Hedgie has, I'm going to need to get a couple more X. What can I do to go farm more X? I'm going to go Google on ways to farm currency. You know, okay, I found this method, I'm going to try it out. That whole experience is insane. Like, you guys think, oh, just, it's a new guy, or just give it to him for free. Give him to him for free. You know, like that has no appreciation value. You know, as far as a gameplay thing, like, everybody should go through that experience of understanding how tough it is to accumulate currency, getting good at it, price checking, trading, enjoying, you know, accumulating trade skills, all that kind of shit. It's all really good gameplay. It might not seem like that to you, but I'm not a fan of giving handouts. You know, like just especially with the new player. With an old player that's been playing the game, he's very polished. I have no problems. Hey, you want to borrow this? Fuck it. You know, you're like good for the game. You're gonna keep playing. You know, it's whatever. But for new players, I think it's very, very bad. Okay, so let's see. Next paragraph. As you know, we picked up a second option for Path of Exile. While really enjoy putting powerful builds together as they feel like they pay off of being able to destroy large groups of monsters, new players sometimes describe initial combat as slow or clunky. We're investigating ways to improve the feeling of the game while still keeping a clear sense of progression as you level up and become more powerful. This, yeah, I agree. It's the slow clunkiness, that's a little google.com or twitch.tv that can solve a lot of those problems. People just need to understand that the resources out there. Maybe even Chris can make an effort to, you know, somewhere in the game, hey, struggling with PoE, go check out the Twitch casters that stream the game, and they'll be more than likely be helpful, and you get some live interaction. I mean, hell, it's like fucking it's like a support team for the community for free. You know, they're doing it for free. Okay, early attack speed. Compared to other action RPGs, our melee attack speed is relatively slow. We're currently internal testing a change where early weapons have been rebalanced to be slightly faster. While still doing the same overall damage per second, this is tapered so that higher level weapons are unmodified. By then, the players have a vast amount of attack speed from items, passives, and support gems. So far, we found this helps combat feel more impactful at low levels. We're still investigating on the balance consequences of the change, such as the impact on mana when skills are used more often. So this is like talking about the machine gun blender type. You just attack so fucking fast. Watering down your damage hits, but at the same time increasing the rate of you attack, which was seen with leech nerfs, both mana and health. You're being rewarded for better quantity or quality hits than quantity, whereas before there was no penalty. You attack fast, you still do great deeps, even through armor and increased physical reduction mods. Okay. Tutorial elements. Okay, this is what I was talking about. Hopefully they're going to say something. Currently, the Path of Exile tutorial is a subtle box that says hold Alt to show items on the ground. This is insufficient to explain the game to people. Yes, you are correct. Holding Alt is not a good tutorial. While I understand that a better tutorial is an exciting feature to hear that we are going to spend a developer time on. Yes, all the people that are super fanatics that have been playing this game for a long time, they're going to be disappointed to know that, you know, why aren't we getting more new content, or why hasn't shit changed, or why isn't this being nerfed or rebalanced? And a lot of the time it's going to be spent, you know, working in these new players. And honestly, in the end, it's going to be for the best, because new players will join, new players will stir up the economy, increase the fun, increase the friends that you can acquire and enjoy the game with. So you just have to suck it up for a little while, let them develop their new early on shit. Having better new player retention will be very important. Yes, new players are going to be the ones that are going to invest money into the company too. So that's important as a business decision to increase your development. You know, if they bring in new players and those new players are doubling down on their investment in PoE, then they're able to hire more developers, in turn, you know, keeping up with the content ahead. So it's ultimately gonna suck at the beginning, but it's gonna be win-win-win, you know, very, very shortly. New players, I mean, most of the players have been playing for a year, supporting the game. They've already pretty much extended their funds of how much they're gonna put in. Like myself, about $1,000 that I put in. You know, and I don't need any more stash tabs, so it's gonna take something really cool, like microtransaction wise, like the Seraph set that I recently bought, and I don't mind, you know, throwing in more bones, you know, who cares? It's, you know, I love this game. I play it all the time. This is the only game I actually play right now. So we need to find more of me's that will back the company, you know, substantially and increase the overall development process. If players can learn how to play more easily, then the pool of people that eventually you'll be able to play at the end game content will continue to grow and grow. That's exactly what I just said. And I didn't read that ahead, I promise. Alright. One more section. Client server synchronization. Holy fuck. This is long. Let me get a drink of water before I read this. I'm gonna run actually I shouldn't do that. I'm probably gonna YouTube this anyways. Alright, I'm just gonna man up. We're gonna bang this out in one segment. This is a repost of the previous development manifesto article topic with minor edits. Okay, so is this the desync stuff? I've already read the desync stuff. Where's the changes? Okay, let's read this. How our system of action prediction works. Let's say you're playing with 200 ms. I play with sub 10, Chris. Thank you very much, but not everybody plays at that. Round trip latency, you click a monster that is 2 seconds of travel distance away from you, assuming your attack animation has a contact point of 300 milliseconds, which is where damage is dealt. 0 ms, you click a monster, your character starts running towards it on the client. 100 ms, your click arrives at the server, the character starts running towards the monster also. At this stage, your local character is already 5% of the way there. 2000 ms, your character arrives at the monster of the client. It's not there yet on the server. I think that's a typo by him. You don't even know if it'll arrive for sure. It might get interrupted by an attack. Your client starts to animate the sword swing. That's where people see the desync. You see the sword swing and you see no damage go out, or you hit a button and enduring cry didn't go off because you got stunned on the way there, or something happened. Your character arrives at the monster on the server. The server immediately performs the combat calculation in advance. Okay, so you guys can go ahead and read this. I pretty much explained desync and how it works in one of my YouTube videos. To keep this relatively short, I'm going to try to siphon the new stuff that they put in. Let me read this and skim it, and I'll read what I think is super necessary or different from what I've seen from the last Desync manifesto. Why does it exist? Why is rubber banding good? Yeah, I've done that, seen it. Why other games? Okay. Okay, what we're planning to do to improve synchronizations. I think this is the new portion. Oh, wait. April 20th. Okay, well let's read this first, okay? And then we'll read both of these sections. I think this is important. If you want to know more about desync and what I have to say about it, check out my YouTube video on desync. And this is it's like the verbal version of this, and maybe it'll help better explain and how to combat it. Alright, we're planning on doing improved synchronization. There are a lot of changes that we're experimenting with. Have monsters on the client attack your server location rather than the client location due to entropy. Maybe compromise on attacking a midway point between the two. That's interesting. The drawback here is that it'll appear that they're swinging in the air, but technically more in sync. I think I would be that's an option that, you know, it's obviously not happening right now, but I think I'd be okay with that. I mean, it may look weird aesthetically, but I'm all for better calculation. So I'm thinking that option could go 50-50 between the community and like how the game feels. My personal preference is I'm okay with the midway point. Display blood and elemental effects at the contact point rather than the client location. That is also, I would enjoy that too, because I would know how far I'm actually desynced and what location I'm actually at. A lot of times there is a tell when you kill a mob that's in the relative area, you'll see the loot drop on a different side of the screen. That's clear cut, you know, definition of you're not actually where you think you are. But this is essentially the same thing. Blood and elemental effects. Resync entities that successfully hit you when nothing is on your client near you. Okay. This may actually pull the entity even more out of sync if you're in the wrong place yourself. So there is a huge drawback to that. I can understand that that's probably not what I would want to do. Resync everything in the area and around a desynced entity. This reduces the overall entropy massively, but would be pretty jarring. That's kind of cool. Delay the action. I would like that too. Delay actions if the client was ahead on its path. This would solve the case where when monsters die before you get to them, you are out of sync, but technically results in lower combat efficiency for players in these cases. Yeah, I don't think that's good, especially for stuff like Storm Call and Flame Blast. Super fucking annoying. If I had a glimpse, like a hint of where the guy was through a hit that landed, like a rock being thrown at me, I would know where I would need to charge up my next Flame Blast or Storm Call, even if I didn't want to hit the out of sync thing. For ranged characters, it's less of a problem because shooting in a general direction allows you to eventually hit the target. So not so much of a problem for range, more of a problem with melee. That's why melee combat, you know, people get very frustrated. Improve the distance between resyncing that occurs for things that are far away from where they should be. It doesn't currently take movement speed into account properly. This is why Roas feel quite out of sync when charging. Yes, I've noticed this many times. Any charging mob, the whole stun mechanic, it's up in the air. I've learned to play around it, to always expect some kind of fuck up when I get charged. So whenever I get charged by, you know, Roas or shield guys, I always stare at my bar, my buff bar and my debuff bar to make sure I have my endurance charges went off properly. That's a very high chance of sync problems, especially when you don't run an unwavering stance or Eye of Chayula. Getting stunned is a prediction mechanic that often leads to desync. Most overall entropy around the player and forced to resync to if it exceeds some threshold. This problem is that they may the problem is that by the time the resynced information gets to the client, more actions could have occurred. Yes, that's a huge drawback. Fix bugs where specific skills that actually cause them to act differently on the client and server. Whirling Blades, for example, sometimes fails to trigger based on a distance on one end. I'm not too sure what this is. I don't think I've ever used Whirling Blades on any build. That's something that I haven't experienced, so I can't really comment on that. Other subtle changes, too subtle or difficult to explain clearly here. At this stage, it looks like the biggest gains will come from improving the resync code, so that it rapidly and reliably resyncs the combat situation if the things get too desynchronized. This means more rubber banding, as explained earlier, but will massively reduce the deaths that occur from the player not being able to see the true locations. So he's saying increase the rubber banding, and yeah, the people that aren't really used to hitting the macros for OOS will now have a higher chance of living because, you know, the game is auto syncing for them. So they're able to reassess their situation instead of just running into hallways and not knowing what the fuck is going on. I explained the above changes with their drawbacks because I want to make it clear that this problem is intrinsically difficult to solve. We're fighting both the laws of physics, travel speed, and the desire to compromise gameplay mechanics. And because, you know, desync exists and well, the whole thing is, I explained it on the YouTube video. Basically, it's their way of anti-cheat, anti-bot, and also keeping the mechanics real-time projectiles, having to dodge shit. Like, there's no direct damage contact. You know, it actually takes more skill, more maneuvering, and it overall enhances the difficulty and what they're able to do to the combat system in general. I updated this post. Couldn't find any way to improve the explanation. It's still very accurate and few small edits. I'd like to leave it mostly as is. There are some points that I'd like to clarify that came up since I initially posted. Desync is not affected by stress on our servers, as explained from above. Buying more servers does not solve the problem. We have enough servers currently. When they're overloaded, they fail to spawn new areas rather than affecting combat prediction. Okay, so that's good to know. So when we're having problems zoning into maps where it's crashing, server-related overload problem. That's good to know. When I'm trying to zone back into SARN and I have to end up logging out, that's because server overload, not because, oh my god, I'm desyncing, so the servers must be overloaded. Some players frequently call things like desync that aren't related to action sync. For example, there's a lag spike through general internet. Yes, when your internet does hiccup, it's going to appear as desync. That is widely known. And it's really their own connection or their own node that's creating that problem. The reason why people feel that sync is worse in races is because those are the times when people are pushing their character through small doorways and dense packs. This is what I was talking about. Avoiding those, tight corners, those tight nooks. You should be expecting, like when your character runs through a pack, that is a good and proper time to hit OOS. Because you need to actually make sure that you didn't get stunned somewhere along the way. Like the client says, you got stunned, you got hit for a lot, or you got surrounded. Yeah, that's. I am glad he addressed that. I think I addressed that in the YouTube video too. Suggesting that we use a synchronous action model like RTS MOBA games isn't a good solution. I understand that RTS MOBAs don't have desync, but they do have lag after each and every click. When the semantic is that you're ordering a unit around, this lag is understandable. But if you are the unit, that it feels very terrible. I also think that too. Having a greasy feeling character is not good for an action RPG. Right now, our client prediction system allows users in obscure countries to play Path of Exile with under 200 ms of latency. This would be much worse experience under that alternate action model. In addition, it would require rewriting most of the game. There's absolutely problems with various skills: Whirling Blade, Cyclone, Brutus Hook, yeah, anything that grips. That's like one of the biggest desyncers that make them more desync prone than others. These are being aggressively investigated, and we should have good progress to share on that front soon. Sorry, I'm like becoming almost brain dead. And if you do remember when we talked with Rory in the podcast that there is a death grip coming soon to the game. However, the sync issues need to be resolved because it's a massive syncing undertaking, or syncing under, yeah, whatever. Next, other than the skill specific improvements, our experimental changes so far with it so far attack the problem by causing more intelligent resyncs. That's good. There's a very tough trade-off between small frequent resyncs, which the game feels very jittery and kept in sync, versus less frequent but larger teleports. Users have to come to associate a resync with being out of sync, so updating them more frequently makes them feel like, okay, so if the client is constantly resyncing you to give you better and accurate position, you're often going to feel like, what the fuck, this game is just a warp game. Like, it's just so much rubber banding, and they feel like overall, if the game can get you from point A to point B, and predict your route and get you there without having to constantly reset your position, they feel like that's overall better. So they're playing around with that number of how long the game is going to wait for it to actually try to resync you. To elaborate on the last point and clarify the problem in a nutshell, in order to keep hardcore game mechanic more body blocking, stunning, and missing while also preventing players from manipulating combat results, small amounts of desyncs will occur naturally. There's no way around this due to the speed of light. An ideal solution from grinding gear games would be to rapidly detect and correct those sync problems, putting things back where they should be. We have not yet delivered a solution to our satisfaction. Once we have, though, you may notice periodic resyncs, which may initially feel like you're out of sync all the time. That's because the system is acknowledging it and correcting it, rather than assuming that it's going to be fine and letting you end up in 2 rooms away, pinned up against the wall. Okay, so I hope that Desync, this manifesto, Chris took a lot of time and effort to write this. There's all the information that you need to know, every reason and why it exists. So this doesn't need to be brought up in any kind of podcast. They're clearly working hard on it. It's one of the highest priorities, #1 complaints. It doesn't need to be, beat into the ground. It's like, what's the point of fucking poking a stick in the corpse? It's just like, it's being handled. And I hope everybody enjoyed this overview. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing to my YouTube and check it out on check it out live on Twitch TV. Thank you guys for watching.